I should have known something was off when I got a letter instead of a phone call. Not an email, not a text. An actual envelope with my name in that uptight cursive my mom uses when she wants to pretend she's too classy to be cruel. Inside was a short note. Come home this weekend. We have something important to discuss. Mom and Dad, no love, no hope you're well. Just a summons, like they were kings, and I was the disgraced prince returning from exile. I hadn't been back to that house in almost 4 years, ever since I'd packed a duffel bag and left after a screaming match over college, how I threw away a full ride to pursue something as unstable and ridiculous as carpentry. My sister Rachel, on the other hand, could have majored in underwater basket weaving and they'd have thrown a parade. I should have tossed the letter in the trash, burned it, but curiosity's a hell of a drug. I showed up Saturday afternoon. The house hadn't changed. Same sterile beige walls, same pristine flower beds Mom never touched herself. I rang the doorbell, already regretting every step that brought me here. Rachel opened the door wearing a dress that probably cost more than my car. "Well, look who decided to grace us with his presence," she said, voice sharp enough to cut glass. Rachel. I nodded, walking past her. The living room looked like a furniture catalog, cold, expensive, and designed to impress people they secretly despised. Dad sat in his armchair, nursing a glass of something brown and probably overpriced. Mom hovered in the kitchen doorway, hands folded like she was attending a funeral. Maybe mine. "Hi, Jason," she said softly. "Let's skip the small talk." I said, "Why am I here?" Dad sighed and stood up, motioning toward the coffee table. On it was a manila folder. "We're settling our affairs," he said. "Estate planning, future, proofing." I waited. "Your sister's getting the lake house." Mom said. I nodded. No surprise there. Rachel got everything she wanted, whether she earned it or not. "And you?" Dad hesitated, glancing at Mom. She gave him the nod. He reached into the folder and pulled out a small envelope. I opened it. Inside was a single key, slightly rusted, taped to a folded document. "What is this?" "It's the deed to your grandfather's old place," Mom said. I blinked. "You mean that wreck on Carpenter Hill, the one with the collapsed porch and black mold?" "It has potential," Dad said quickly. "Land is land," Rachel snorted. "If you like raccoons and asbestos." I stared at them. "You're giving me a condemned shack while Rachel gets a two-story, fully renovated lake house." "Jason," Mom said, trying to sound soothing. "You've always been more hands-on. You can fix it up, make something of it." Rachel giggled. "Yeah, maybe turn it into a haunted airbnb. People pay good money to get tetanus now." I stood there, stunned. This wasn't just favoritism. It was insult disguised as opportunity. "You serious?" I asked. "You're handing me a money pit and calling it a gift." Dad sat back down, clearly done with the conversation. "You always said you didn't want handouts, so don't look at this like one." I clenched the key in my hand until the metal dug into my skin. "Fine," I said quietly. "You'll see what I make of it." Rachel smirked. "Can't wait." I walked out without another word, but inside something was boiling. I didn't want revenge. I wanted proof. Proof that I wasn't what they saw me as: lesser, disappointing, disposable. I drove straight to Carpenter Hill and stood in front of the ugliest, most beaten-down house I'd ever seen. It wasn't just bad, it was cursed. The front door leaned at an angle like it was drunk. Half the windows were boarded up. The siding was peeling off in strips. There was a family of raccoons on the roof who looked at me like I was trespassing. I walked around to the back and found a hole in the foundation big enough to crawl through. Most people would have given up. Called a realtor, burned it down for the insurance, but me, I smiled. This house didn't scare me, because they thought they were giving me trash, and I was about to turn it into treasure. Her beach house was bleeding money. Her influencer brand had become a joke after the arrest video went viral, and no one was booking her for sponsorships anymore. My food truck park, meanwhile, had just signed a deal with a regional media group to host a summer concert series. So yeah, they were desperate, and I wasn't. "We're losing everything," Dad admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. Mom nodded, face tight. "The mortgage on our house is 3 months behind. Emily. She's in worse shape. Her name is tied to all of it. If we can't come up with the money, she might. She might lose everything." I didn't say anything. Please, Logan, Mom said, we made mistakes. We see that now. We should have supported you. We were wrong, okay. A part of me wanted to explode, to scream, now you get it. Another part just felt tired. I'd carried so much anger for so long. The betrayal, the humiliation, all of it, it was like hauling bricks on my back. But now, they were the ones crushed under the weight. You came here. I said quietly to ask for money again. Dad looked away. Mom didn't deny it. How much this time? $700,000. Mom said quickly, to clear the house, pay the back taxes, and no. I said instantly. She blinked. But Logan, no, I repeated. Not a dollar. I'm not your bailout plan, not your backup, not your just in case. Dad's hands clenched at his sides. You're being petty. I laughed. Petty, you handed Emily a villa like it was a gift basket and told me to sleep under the stars. And now that she burned down the whole thing with her ego and champagne habits, you come to me like I'm the family ATM. It's different now, Mom snapped. No, I said it's not. You still don't respect me. You just want what I have. Silence stretched between us. My customers were laughing a few feet away. Music was playing, and the scent of barbecue filled the air. My kingdom, my world, I don't owe you anything, I said. You want money, sell the beach house, sell the cars, get jobs. Jobs. Dad repeated like it was a curse word. I stepped closer. Yeah, jobs, you remember those, right? The things poor people do when they're not living off trust funds or pretending to be better than everyone else. Mom flinched. You can leave now. I said, but they didn't move. We're still your parents, Dad said bitterly. I tilted my head, then act like it. I thought that would be the last of it. But rich people don't go down quietly. A month passed. Business boomed even harder. Local press did a piece on my journey from parking lot to empire, and it trended for 3 straight days. I was getting offers to franchise, investors lining up, and even a podcast request from a guy who interviewed startup founders. Then I got a letter. It was from a lawyer. They were suing me, my own parents, claiming they never officially transferred the lot ownership and that the paperwork was never finalized. They wanted it back. The whole thing, the land, the structures, the businesses I built, due to an oversight in the deed processing, the title remains in the family trust. The letter said, we request immediate cessation of business activity on said property and its return to the trust. I laughed when I read it. Like out loud right in the middle of my office, but it wasn't a joke. It was real. They were trying to take back everything after I made it successful. I called my lawyer. He was quiet for a long time. It's a technicality, he finally said, but they may have a leg to stand on. If the deed was never properly transferred, they can claim ownership, even if they gave it to you verbally. So what do we do? I asked. We fight. That fight dragged on for 6 months. They tried every dirty trick in the book. Court filings, emergency hearings, social media attacks again. Emily even posted a teary video saying I stole a family property and ruined her life. It got picked up by a gossip blog, and for a hot second, I was the villain, but the truth always wins. I countersued, proved through old texts and email that the parking lot was a gift, and that I'd invested my own money into building the business. My lawyer dug up everything, Emily's DUI, Dad's bankruptcy filings, the mess they were hiding under all that fake wealth, and then the judge made a decision. I won. Not only did I keep the property, the court ruled they had to pay my legal fees. $93,000. Emily fainted in the courtroom. Mom burst into tears. Dad didn't say a word. As I walked past them, briefcase in hand, I paused. You could have had me in your corner, I said. All you had to do was believe in me, but now you're just a sad story I'll tell when people ask why I work so hard. And I walked out. The court ruling wasn't just a win, it was nuclear, a statement. Word got out fast, a local blogger wrote, Black Sheep son wins David vs. Goliath legal battle against his own family and makes them pay. It blew up, people rallied around me, my food truck park tripled in traffic that week. People came just to take selfies with the guy who sued his parents and won, but behind the scenes, something darker was brewing. Emily went silent on social media for a while. Her brand collapsed entirely, no sponsors, no deals, no invites. She sold her Porsche and tried to float some NFT to stay afloat, but that flopped too. My parents downsized to a small condo on the edge of town. For the first time in their lives, they had to live like the rest of us. And that should have been the end of it, but pride doesn't die easy. About 2 months after the court ruling, I got a call from an old family friend, Mrs. Yates, a real estate agent who'd worked with my parents for years. "You need to be careful," she said. I frowned. "What do you mean?" "I overheard your sister. She's trying to sell a story to a streaming platform. Says she's writing a based on real-life drama about her downfall, and you're the villain." I laughed. "That's ridiculous. She's pitching it hard, Logan, with names changed, but not enough to matter." I should have seen it coming. Emily had always been dramatic, always spinning stories to make herself the misunderstood star. Only this time, she wasn't just lying to our parents, she was lying to the world. A few weeks later, I saw the trailer drop on an indie film blog. Golden Child, a limited series inspired by real events. When a gifted daughter loses everything, she must battle her scheming brother for their family's legacy. The actress playing Emma looked exactly like her. The scheming brother was portrayed as a bitter, vengeful loser who manipulated everyone and stole the family land. My name wasn't in it, but come on, everyone who knew us would connect the dots. This was war. I called my lawyer again. "It's technically legal," he said. "She's not using your real name. It's fictionalized just enough, so she gets to rewrite the past. She can sell whatever version she wants, but you can tell yours too." That's when I had the idea. I called up the same production company that had interviewed me after the food park launch. I pitched them a real story, the truth, gritty, raw, no sugarcoating. They loved it. We called it Lot 17. That was the number of the original parking lot space I'd started with. It wasn't flashy, no rich influencers, no perfect teeth and buttocks drama, just me, a kid who got nothing, built everything, and fought to keep it. They gave me a real crew, a real director, and full creative control. We filmed at the park with the actual vendors, real people, real grind, and when it launched, it didn't just go viral. It crushed Emily's fake drama. Golden Child was mocked as tone, deaf and self-absorbed. Viewers called it a rich girl's pity party. Meanwhile, Lot 17 got picked up by a bigger platform, earned critical acclaim, and was nominated for an Indie Documentary Award. Suddenly, I wasn't just the guy who owned a food park. I was Logan Shaw, the entrepreneur who beat the odds and the lies. Emily tried to sue for defamation. It went nowhere. She burned through the last of her savings, fighting me in court again, and lost again. My parents, they kept their distance. I heard from a cousin that Dad started driving for a ride, share app. Mom picked up part-time work at a boutique. The condo got smaller. They stopped showing up to family functions. The Golden Child had fallen. The empire had crumbled, but me, I expanded. A second food park, then a third, I franchised. Launched a mentorship program for young entrepreneurs with nothing but grit. I went on podcasts, spoke at events, and wrote a book titled Nothing to Something, Building Without Permission. I didn't do any of it to rub it in their faces. I did it because I finally saw something I'd never seen growing up. I didn't need their validation. I never did. It was a rainy Thursday when she showed up. I was at Lot 17, the original food park, sipping coffee in my office trailer, reviewing some vendor applications. The business was booming. We had a waiting list to get a cart space, and I just inked a partnership deal with a local college for an entrepreneur incubator. Then my assistant buzzed me, "Logan, your sister's here." I froze. "Emily, yeah, she doesn't have an appointment, but she looks rough." I stepped outside. She was sitting on the edge of a bench near the taco truck, soaked from the rain, no makeup, no designer clothes. Just a hoodie, leggings, and a look I hadn't seen on her face since we were kids. Humility. I walked up slowly. "You lost." She looked up. Her eyes were red. I didn't know where else to go. I didn't say anything. Just waited. She sighed, pulling her hoodie tighter. "It's all gone. Everything. The show flopped. No one will work with me. I'm in debt. I had to sell Mom's wedding ring just to afford gas to get here." I raised an eyebrow. "Mom's ring? She gave it to me before they moved. Said it meant more in my hands. Of course she did." Emily rubbed her hands together. Look, I'm not here to fight. I know I messed up, all of it. I lied about you, the inheritance, the show. I was jealous, always have been. You earned what you have, I just took what I was given and thought I deserved more. She paused. I was wondering if, maybe, I could work here, start over. I laughed before I could stop myself. You want a job? She didn't flinch. Yeah. What kind? Anything. Wipe tables, clean trash, park cars. It was surreal. The same sister who once called me an embarrassment for working at a truck stop was now asking to bus tables at my food park. I leaned back against the picnic table and crossed my arms. Why should I trust you? You shouldn't, she said. But I'm not asking for trust. I'm asking for a chance. I told her to come back the next day at 6 a.m. sharp, no excuses, no special treatment, and she did. For the first few weeks, I kept a close eye on her. She didn't complain. She showed up early, cleaned, hauled, restocked, ate lunch alone, never asked for special favors. The other workers didn't even recognize her at first. She blended in. She was quiet. Not humble exactly, but trying. I watched her lift boxes in the rain one night and thought, this is the first time in her life she's actually working for something she doesn't already have. One afternoon, she came into my office, hands still stained from cleaning fryer grease. Why are you letting me do this? She asked. I looked up from my laptop. Because I don't hate you. She blinked. After everything. I don't forget. I said, but I don't hate. Hate keeps me tied to the past. I've got too much to build to stay bitter. She didn't say anything for a while. Then nodded and walked out. A few months passed. The other employees warmed up to her. She started taking pride in her work. Not in a loud, attention-seeking way, but in the quiet way people do when they finally realize no one's coming to save them. One day, I saw her helping a new kid who was fumbling with the POS system. She was patient, calm, teaching. It was weirdly full circle. That night, as we were locking up, she turned to me. You ever think we could have grown up differently if Mom and Dad hadn't, played favorites? I shrugged, maybe, but pain's a teacher. I just learned faster. She smiled faintly. Thanks for giving me a shot. I nodded. Just keep showing up. That's all I ever wanted from any of you. 6 months later, I promoted her to operations manager for Lot 17. Not out of pity she earned it. She still lived modestly, still didn't drive anything flashy. She even paid me back for her first 2 months of paychecks, said she didn't deserve to be gifted anything again. As for our parents, they never called, not even after Emily's quiet transformation. Last I heard, they'd moved to Florida and were living off a reverse mortgage. I didn't care. Let them rot in their pride. Emily and I weren't best friends. We weren't hugging it out or having deep family dinners, but we were working side by side. Sometimes that's the best kind of healing you get, not forgiveness wrapped in a bow. Just showing up, doing the work. Building a new story one day, one choice at a time.